Hello and welcome everybody to our latest edition of the Business Spotlight interview. Today I'm happy to be joined by Rory McLaughlan, founder of Shirt in a Box here in Northern Ireland. Rory, delighted that you could join us today. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Richard.
Good. Why don't you share with us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it for?
Sure. So as you mentioned, I'm founder of Shirt in a Box. We've been doing it for about 2 years now. Um, and yeah, I'm involved with one or two other companies, but this is my main pride and joy, and what keeps me busy. Um, we started, or I started personally, at the start of COVID, really, buying and selling football shirts, and then that kind of morphed into this business that I see today.
Very good. So tell me a little bit about it. I know that you're an avid footballer, and I think if I'm right, you've won a few things yourself in terms of football, but it's that excuse me, it's the first time that happened. At least this goes for editing, and I'll be able to take all that out. Yeah, I believe that you're an avid footballer and you've won a few things down those lines. That's what really sort of drives this passion for, if I'm correct, football shirts delivered out to people in a box.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, I've been playing football since I was no age, 4 or 5. And I've been blessed in my time of playing football to play with some excellent footballers. And as a result, I've won a few things. My best days are kind of behind me now. I more just play for the fun and leisure of it. Um, I don't have too much time to dedicate it with the business, but obviously, um, everyone says, mix football or mix a passion with business.
Yeah,
Um, and like my passion, number one passion in life is football. Um, so yeah, it made sense. Somewhere to start, especially when I was beginning my entrepreneurial journey. I know football so well, so it just felt so familiar.
very good. So who's your ideal customer then?
Yeah, um, this can vary a wee bit, but normally, someone who likes a bit of a gamble, a bit of a punt. So we're talking males, who are older than 18. But what I like to say about our product is, compared to your stereotypical bookies where you're just throwing your money away, you actually get a return on your money this time, and that's in a football shirt. So um yeah, I guess people who play FIFA or Football Manager, the likes who collect shirts, who go to five-a-side, who want the brand new shirt to wear to fives or to show off to their mates when they're in the pub. That's our ideal customer.
Okay, very good. And what's been your biggest learning since starting out as a business owner?
Um, it's a tough question. I would say, uh, yeah, that is very tough. Um, I don't know if I could give you one answer to that. I would say, um, yeah, I couldn't think of one answer to that, I'm afraid. Um,
Are there a few different things that you'd like to share?
hmm, I guess biggest learning in business so far has to be probably, I think, around hiring potentially.
Yeah.
I started off with a ton of my friends, and that was great at the start. But as we scaled, I think it just isn't sustainable over the long term. So we've had to bring in outside help, outside of my friend group, that is.
Sure.
And sometimes you get those right, and sometimes you get those wrong. But like it's just quickly learning and removing those people who you do get wrong. And thankfully we've got a brilliant team right now. So but it's taken me 2 years to learn that, I guess. And I'm still sure that I'll make some more hiccups
Oh, of course.
around hiring and bringing in personnel to the company.
Very good. So how many folks do you have in your company now?
We're five full time, including myself in our K office here based in Belfast, and then we have three full time in the rest of the world.
Very good. Well done. Well done. So when you were growing up, obviously football was your passion, but was this something that you always wanted to do? Have your own business?
Um, yeah, I'd say I've always been quite entrepreneurial from a young age, whether that I guess my first venture was maybe when I was 5 or 6, trying to
Okay.
charge people to enter my grandparents' living room. So like my grandparents' living room was like the main area in the house, essentially connected, um that to the bedrooms, the stairs, the kitchen, etc. So I tried to charge people 1 or 2 pennies to enter. Um so yeah, from a young age, I guess I've always just been a creative business mind.
Very good. Good. So what would be one of the main things that you've learned about yourself personally during your journey?
Um, I think it's the willingness to learn and overcome challenges. I think like a lot of people I find often in life, like they come up against a challenge and you're talking to them, whether it's just down the pub or football, and they go on about how this challenge is very tough and frightening for them or something like that. And business is quite like that. You get faced with tons of hurdles every day. Um, and if you're not resilient, and if you're not a problem solver, then you won't be very long in business. I don't think you have to be hungry to overcome those challenges, patient, but ultimately resilient enough to take those knocks and overcome them.
Very good, and so true. What would have been the sort of most surprising aspect of owning the business so far?
I think uh, most surprising aspect has to be possibly just how many people kind of I guess have bought from us in terms of obviously we've done a good volume of sales, but it's in terms of we sold the England Rugby team there. Ever like Banar, who's one of the players on the team, he bought 33 jerseys as gifts to all his teammates ahead of the tournament. So it's incredible that I didn't think when we started this journey, I'd be selling to the England Rugby team, or we sold to Ben Foster. Um, so I guess just as well as the volume of people, just uh yeah, certain people within that, it shows how far you can reach if you've got a good brand and people like what you're doing.
Very good. So obviously you've mentioned there about England. Have you sold like totally internationally right across the globe?
Yeah, we've sold everywhere, so we exploit Northern Ireland's unique standing in the world, the best of both worlds. We can trade into the UK and into the EU with relative ease. And so one of the first things we did was just expand abroad. So we've been making sales since month 3 or 4 into the likes of the Germany, Spain, and now a big focus for ourselves is the US market because with Messi landing on their shores, it's the football impact is huge over there. It's growing more and more, and the World Cup's coming up, so we're focusing on growing our presence there as well.
Fantastic. And may I wish you every success on that. That sounds exciting. So what would have been the biggest issue in your business that you've overcome so far?
We've had a couple. I guess we had a couple of a rogue employee who essentially was in charge of our customer relationships. Um, and that set us back at least 3 or 4 months with customers. Was a big challenge. and it was a good learning as well because from a manager to employee perspective, I learned a lot there, but also for a company to customer relationship, there was a lot of learning there that we had to. I think when you start off in business, you can maybe treat a customer as a customer, but you really need to treat them as a friend. Um, and that's how we look at it nowadays. Because ultimately the people we're selling to are similar to myself. They're as crazy about football as me. So that in an alternative world, they could just be a close personal friend. So that's how we treat them now. Um, and it was really, really difficult. 3-4 months, we were just getting pelted with, emails, and we weren't doing anything with them. I thought we were,
Yeah.
because the employee was telling me we were doing something, but essentially we weren't. And it was only once they were gone from the company we were able to find, I guess, the skeletons in the closet and remove them.
Wow. Wow. Well, at least you've overcome that, and yeah, like you said, very much customers. It's the relationship that's key there, and having that friendship and that relationship built up with them.
Yeah,
We hear that
I,
from so many people that we interview, and so many people in the business community.
yeah. These days, I mean, I think we're pretty exemplary at it in terms of how far we've came. Because back then, say like a customer getting contact, we're maybe replying to them a couple of days later. Now we're replying to them within minutes, and we're solving their queries within an hour and a half, and we're getting orders out the door where previously it would take us a couple of days just because of how how complicated our system was. It would
Yeah.
take us a couple of days to get a customer's order out the door. Now it's taking us the same day we can get it out the door. So in terms of our relationship with customers, it's come such a long way in our journey.
Superb. So, who do you go to for inspiration in business, or are there certain business figures that inspire you?
Uh, yes. I guess if I remember this correctly, Peter Cargill, who used to be head of JD Sports, obviously grew JD from what was essentially nothing to the biggest high street fashion brand. Um, he is, although he's now, I guess, gone from his post there, what he did was exceptional. Um, then obviously, Nike's founder Phil Knight, read his book when I was very young, I think when it first came out, and it was brilliant. A lot of principles from the 4 Hour Working Week by Tim Ferriss we still employ here, shirt in a box. And then just closer to home, I guess. My mother is she works for a company called Invest in I, and she's an account executive. So she works for 3 or 4 in the skilling team. So 3 or 4 plus 10 million revenue companies.
Yeah.
So she's got good insight into essentially how companies work, and um, yeah, she's always on hand for any advice. She's a very smart lady too.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, quite a few people that I have interviewed have said that somebody who had inspired them in business was a relative, and
Hmm.
it's always nice to hear those family connections and those close relatives that have inspired us, as well as the other more famous ones that many people refer to. So, would you have some sort of like favorite books or podcasts for motivation?
Yeah. Uh, I mean, the one I always go back to if someone asks me about, getting into business or making money or just even increased productivity is the 4 Hour Working Week by Tim Ferriss. Um, I think that's an exceptional book. It changed my whole perspective on how business operates and the real life works. In terms of podcasts, Matt Kelly does a very good podcast for the e-commerce space called the Midnight Podcast. So Shirt and Box is an e-commerce company. So I get a lot of learnings off that. And then What is the one that is hosted by the Dragons Den? Host, I forget his name now. Stephen Bartlett, gone from the top of my head. Yeah, he does decent podcasts too. Although I can't say I listen to every episode. I tune in and tune out sometimes. But maybe every third or fourth I'll catch one when he's got a really interesting guest.
Very good, very good. So, what does the future look like for you, Rory, and for Shirt in a Box? And what do you think would be some of the main challenges going forward?
Yeah, I guess for Shirt in a Box, firstly, we're only really in the football space right now. We're settled in the UK. I think we've done excellent in the UK. We're very good, but we don't want to rest on our laurels just there. A lot of companies do. Satisfied with that. There's tons of footballing nations out there, the Italy's, the Spain's, the France's. I think we can do an excellent in every one of those markets. So that's a focus for Shirt in a Box. Appropriately, when I was creating the brand Shirt in a Box, I made sure to leave out the football in it, and that's because I don't want to limit us to football.
Yeah.
And already we've had conversations with senior people in rugby and in basketball about setting up in that sport. So that's on the horizon too. I don't think it'll be in the next year, but possibly after that we could be doing, 4 or 5 different sports and diversify away from football. Although I think a lot of football will still be our main mover. And then personally, like I said, I think I touched on this at the start. I'm involved with 2 or 3 other companies. So I'm great to have a good team here at Shirt in a Box. So I can dedicate a wee bit of my time, not a huge amount of time, to these other companies. One of them, the numbers game, is doing quite well at the minute. So yeah, I mean, I think I'll always be growing businesses. And if I see opportunities, I always try and get involved.
Very good. Good. Sounds exciting. So, what would you say, or what advice would you give to someone who's thinking of going into business for themselves?
Always be willing to learn. I think a lot of people are stubborn and stuck in their ways. When they go into business, they think that they know is best. I think you really have to be willing to learn, wear multiple hats, and don't be afraid to hire an expert or listen to an expert and do their ways, because the sad truth is you don't know everything at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. No, good advice. And always better to learn from somebody else's mistakes, and what somebody else has learned helps you move faster.
100% saves you time, doesn't it?
Yeah. So and I know you're not too far away from this age, but a question that we always ask people who have been in business is, look, if you go back to when you were a much younger self, and we always use the sort of 18 as an idea, but I know that for you that's not that far back. But what's the best advice you would give to an 18-year-old you?
Yeah, so 18-year-old me was working with my first company, Rory's Football Shirts, very creative name. So maybe if I go even further back, like 17, when business wasn't really a thing for myself, I think it would be at that time I was just very focused on 2 things: my studies and my football. I think I'd tell myself just to open your eyes and be willing to learn, because eventually it took me a wee bit, but and I think I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for COVID. Because that gave me so much time, and it gave me the ability to learn. But what I'd say is, yeah, just open your eyes and be willing to learn. I think that's always most important thing.
Great. Good shares, Rory. Good advice, and appreciate that. I'm sure lots of our viewers will be not just welcoming the advice, but inspired themselves by your story and what you've already achieved at such a young age. And I just want to wish you every continued success as you go on, whether that's with Shirt in the Box or one of your other companies or new companies to come. So thanks very much, Rory, for taking time out of your schedule and for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.